For centuries, this city stood unconquerable. Its walls, a symbol of impossible strength, defied any army that came before it. But a new army has arrived, an army that fights with faith, not with weapons. This is the story of how an impossible fortress fell, not to brute force, but to a single, thunderous shout. Imagine an army of over 1 million people finally, after 40 years of wandering, standing on the threshold of their promised home. Their leader, a man named Joshua, looked out at the first major obstacle in their path, the city of Jericho. It was a fortress of a city, with walls so thick that they said 2 chariots could drive side by side on top of them. To the human eye, it was unconquerable. Before they made a move, Joshua made a strategic decision. He sent 2 of his best men, spies, to scout the city in secret. They slipped into Jericho, a dangerous mission, and found refuge in the most unlikely of places, the home of a woman named Rahab. Her house was built right into the city wall itself. Now, Rahab was a woman of ill repute, but she had a mind and a heart that were open. So when the king of Jericho found out about the spies and sent his men to her house, Rahab didn't hesitate. She hid the 2 men on her roof beneath stalks of flax. When the soldiers came to her door, she lied to them, saying, "Yes, some men were here, but they left at dusk. Hurry, and you can catch them." The soldiers, believing her, rushed out of the city in a futile chase. When the coast was clear, Rahab went back to the spies. Her voice was filled with both fear and a courageous hope. "I know that your God has given you this land," she said. "We are all terrified of you. Please swear to me by your God that you will show kindness to my family, just as I have shown kindness to you. When you conquer this city, spare the lives of my father, my mother, my brothers, my sisters, and all who belong to them." The spies, grateful for her help, made a sacred vow. "Our lives for your lives," they promised, "as long as you do not betray us. When the Lord gives us this city, we will deal kindly and faithfully with you." They then gave her a sign, a small but vital detail that would save her. "Tie this scarlet cord in your window," they instructed. "Gather your family inside your house, and anyone who remains outside will perish. But anyone inside with you will be safe." With a heart full of hope, Rahab helped them escape down a rope from her window. The spies then returned to Joshua, their report a mixture of caution and triumph. "The Lord has surely given the whole country into our hands," they told him. "All the people are melting in fear because of us." Before the army could reach Jericho, one final obstacle lay in their way: the Jordan River. But this was no small stream. It was at flood stage, a raging torrent. But God gave Joshua an astonishing command, one that required absolute faith. "Tell the priests to carry the Ark of the Covenant and step into the water." So, the priests, carrying the most sacred object of their faith, walked towards the bank. The water was roaring and foaming at their feet. The moment their feet touched the water's edge, the impossible happened. The water from upstream piled up in a massive solid wall, and the water flowing downstream drained away, leaving a dry riverbed. The entire nation, all 12 tribes, walked across on dry land. It was a second Red Sea miracle, a sign that the same powerful God who had delivered them from Egypt was still with them. As they crossed, they built a monument of stones to remember this awe-inspiring moment. Now on the plains of Jericho, Joshua was alone, reflecting on the task ahead. Suddenly, he saw a man standing before him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua, a seasoned warrior, was not afraid. He strode forward and challenged him, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" The figure's reply was chilling and profound. "Neither," he said. "As commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Joshua understood immediately. This was no ordinary man. He was in the presence of God himself. Joshua fell to the ground in worship, a posture of complete surrender. The divine commander gave him a single sacred command. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Joshua had just received the ultimate confirmation. The battle for Jericho was not his to fight alone. The commander of the Lord's army then laid out the battle plan, and it was the most illogical military strategy ever conceived. He told Joshua, "For 6 days, you are to march around the city once a day. Have 7 priests with trumpets made from rams' horns walk in front of the Ark of the Covenant. On the 7th day, you are to march around the city 7 times. And when you hear a final long blast from the trumpets, everyone is to shout with a great shout. Then, and only then, the wall will collapse." This plan made no sense. It was all ritual and no military force. It was designed not for human strength, but for divine power. And so, the Israelites obeyed. For 6 days they marched in a silent, solemn procession. The priests blew their trumpets, but the army made no sound. They simply walked, day after day, around the massive walls of Jericho. From the ramparts above, the people of Jericho must have looked on in confusion and scorn, perhaps laughing at their enemy's strange ritual. But below, it was a profound act of faith, a test of obedience, patience, and silent trust in a God who fights in ways no one expects. On the 7th day, the sun rose, and the march began at dawn. But this time, they did not stop. They marched around the city once, then a second time, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. The tension in the air was palpable. As they began their 7th and final circuit, the sound of the priests' trumpets grew louder, more urgent. And then, a single, long, powerful note from all 7 trumpets pierced the air. At that moment, Joshua gave the command, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." The entire army, 1,000,000 voices strong, let out a single thunderous roar. It was a shout of faith, of release, of belief in a promise that was about to be fulfilled. And as the sound of their collective faith echoed across the plains, the impossible happened. The mighty walls of Jericho, the very walls they had been told were impenetrable, began to tremble. With a terrifying groan and a cloud of dust, they collapsed not inward but outward, as if an unseen hand had pushed them down, creating perfect ramps of rubble for the Israelites to climb right into the city. The army rushed in, and the battle was swift. But Joshua had given them one critical command: destroy everything, but do not harm Rahab and her family, for she saved our spies. Amidst the chaos and the cries of battle, the 2 spies, their hearts full of gratitude, found the house with the scarlet cord tied in the window. They rushed in and led Rahab, her parents, her brothers, and her entire family to safety outside the camp. The one who was an outsider, a Gentile, was saved because of her faith in the God of Israel. Her life would continue, and she would become an ancestor in the lineage of King David, and much later, even Jesus Christ. The city of Jericho was burned to the ground, its walls a testament to the power of God. The lesson was clear. This victory was not about military might or clever strategy. It was a sign to Israel and to us that God fights for His people, and sometimes His plan for victory is simply an act of obedience.